Alright, this is a little video I'm putting together for this 1962 Fender Bandmaster. When I came across this amp, it was in need of restoration. Here you can see some of the early pictures in the project. There's that beautiful old circuit. Some transformer numbers. They're all original. That's a 1964 speaker in the 61 cabinet. So it was changed out with something comparable. And this is just more pictures. You can see these beautiful old blue molar caps, which are still in the amp, by the way. The death cap, the dreaded death cap, is still in the amp. I did not change this to a 3-prong cord, as many people do, as I like the old 2-prong chords. You know, as many times have I been shocked by old amps, I have yet to have been killed. Can't say that's the case for everybody, but it just was always part of playing for me, us old guys. Here I was going through some switches, cleaning them up. They had like coats of rust on them. That's the doghouse caps. It says here that electrolytic capacitors were changed out, and I always agree with this in old amps. Here's some new caps that I put in. The best thing you can do for your vintage transformers is to change those old electrolytics. That yellow mustard cap, as this is stating, has been changed with a Black Beauty, another vintage Black Beauty cap, because I wanted to keep it old, and the Black Beauty wasn't leaking, and it was in good shape. Here's a diagram of some of the values from the old caps versus the new caps that I put in the amp. The picture is showing the old caps. This was my method for cleaning out the jack holes to get them nice and bright. And of course I deoxed the pods so they sound nice. Now this is the tone ring cabinet, very famous sought after tone ring cabinet. 12-inch speaker, really sounds good. There's that Black Beauty right there. Now on to the cleaning of the original Tolex, which was extremely grimy. I know a lot of people freak out about cleaning Tolex, but I don't think it's such a sin. I like my amps to be clean. I like them original but clean. You see the hardware here had considerable rust on it, and all I did to that hardware was wire brush it down and put a clear coat of lacquer to keep them from going back into a rusty state, to keep them in the proper look. And they're all original. And some more pictures of that process. There's the original feet, the old kickstands, the famous Fender kickstands. Gave them some oil and foil rubbed down and lacquered them clear coat as well. This was a lot of fun doing this restore. That's the original ox blood hardware cloth on this amp, which is in impeccable shape for a 62. Here's a process I did with gluing this Tilex back on and showing some of the method. I tried to keep everything I could as original as I could. You can see the wood is in great shape. You can also see the pine knot staining in some of these pictures, which is a hallmark of these Blond amps. The pine sap was able to go right through that old vintage Tolex. And then some more gluing back, and here I'm going into the speaker cabinet. just some random pictures of the project. They're kind of out of order too, you may notice. I wanted to fit as many pictures as I could in this video. And the cleaning, that was a chore. A little bit of Fabulosos did a good job with the brush. That's the only hole I remember having in that Tolex. And now the amp's starting to take shape, and I'm starting to see light at the end of the tunnel here. It's really coming out nice. Now I'm going to come up with a short video here coming soon to give you an idea a little bit about the sound of this amp. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and keep watching it. I got a little more video coming up. And thank you for listening. Here we go. Hello. This is video attempt number 4. This video, the purpose of the video is because I'm selling this amp. This is a very old 1962 Fender Bandmaster amp. It is the ox blood covering. It's got the sought after 15-inch tone ring cabinet. That speaker is a 1964 and a 1962 amp, so it has been changed, but it's been changed with something pretty comparable. It's got the original knobs across the front. Now the only thing in this amp that I changed out was capacitors, electrolytic capacitors, and maybe 2 or 3, I don't remember, 2 or 3 resistors that were out of spec. Other than that, everything was in good shape. The choke was originally in good shape, transformer, and I re-glued the Tolex onto the cabinet because it was letting go. I wanted to keep it as original as I could because people freak out if you change too much on them, and I don't blame them. I like to keep things as original as I can. In fact, I kept the old capacitors, and they will go with the amp. But do not put those old capacitors in there thinking there's some kind of magic tone on the old capacitors. There is not. These old amps had good capacitors in them when they made the recordings from the 60s and 70s that you like so much. If you want that sound that amp made in 1975, you got to have good capacitors. Hell, they used to change capacitors every 4 or 5 years in the old days because capacitors wasn't that good. So with that being said, you have to have the capacitors in the proper, giving out the proper voltages, because it'll offset things. Like you'll either have too much bass or not enough bass, or too much tremolo speed or not enough, too much tremolo depth intensity or not enough. And this is what capacitors does. It regulates the voltage through the board. So you need to have those capacitors and as close to as spec as you can. And this amp is. And the amp sounds good. And you can hear this, not a lot of hum and carrying on in this amp. This is a 1979 Gibson guitar, so it's got the old T pickups in it. So you can imagine it'll sound a little different when you play your Fender guitar through it, but you can get an idea of the tone. That's your clear channel. This is your vibrato channel. distort. That's pretty loud. It doesn't really want to distort because this amp is not really made to distort. It's made to keep clean. But of course, you can run any box you want to get any sound. But the real test of this amp is how loud can you go and it stay clean. Tremolo. Okay, so that'll kind of give you an idea that the amp is playing. There's not a lot of scratching the knobs. One of the things I did when I redid the amp is put some spray in those pots and clean those up. And they all turn nice and smooth. None of them is really sticky. It's a good old amp. You're not likely to come across an amp like this, especially if you're local, man. These amps, you'll probably never get a chance to get a local amp like this again. And I really want to sell it local if I can, so I don't have to worry about shipping this thing. So if I can, I'll cut a deal with you. So send me a message if you're local, and you can come get this amp, and you'll get it a whole lot cheaper than what you'll get it on eBay. So that being said, thank you for taking a look in this video, and I'm going to try to load it up and get it out there as quick as I can for you.